What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a little bit of a look at, well, I thought it might be fun to go and have a look at what is happening with the price of Japanese boxes. And you might be thinking, well, see, come on, dude, I'm not in Japan. I'm in the US, I'm in England, I'm in France, I'm in Germany, wherever it is that you might be. Why do I care about the price of Japanese boxes? And the answer is, you should care about the price of Japanese boxes, because this is going to show you how the Japanese players think of these particular boxes, and if there are particular boxes which are rocketing in price, that is basically going to tell you which of these are the more popular boxes, which of these are more sought after, and which the players want the most. I know it doesn't exactly correlate over here, but I do find it very interesting to go and have a look at exactly how much these end up costing. If nothing else, it's super interesting. And I'm going to be using Amazon Japan for this, because they're a good place to use. What I will say is, I'm using these as an example to the UK because I live in the UK, but I'll tell you something for nothing, these are actually really cool, because you can get these delivered for like a tenner delivery. And that means that you actually can pick these up if you want pretty gosh darn cheap. Maybe one day I'll buy a Japanese box of each set, although I feel like that's a slippery slope. We'll get there. I don't know. Maybe some of them will be super expensive. So starting off, we've got New Evolution, which, as you can see, instead of being 4,752 yen, it is actually being sold over here for 3,889 yen. For anybody that's wondering, we should do a little bit of currency conversion as we go. It's only fair. 3,889 yen comes in terms of pounds, you're looking about £24. And in terms of dollars, you're looking about $31. Yes! That is quite a bit cheaper than over in, well, US, Europe, etc. Although some of those boxes are pretty cheap. It is super awkward to try and do a price list for English boxes. Purely, I mean, one of the big issues we've got is with all of the promo packs. How much are you paying with promo packs? Can you even find the promo packs, etc.? But I do find it kind of interesting. Remember, New Evolution is a lot of Booster 1.0, but not exactly. Now, Ultimate Power actually comes in even a little bit cheaper than that. You can see there it's not being sold quite for retail. You're paying 3,747 yen. So what you're paying there, 3,747. In terms of pounds, you're talking about 23 quid. And in terms of dollars, you're talking about $30. It is only admittedly a tiny bit cheaper than we're paying for BT1, but, you know, is worth pointing out it is a little bit cheaper. As a side note here, and, you know, you've probably guessed this already, but let me make this explicit, if you are looking to start building up a collection of Japanese boxes, either sealed or open, now might be a decent time to do so, but because it really is worth pointing out, these aren't going to be super cheap forever. There is going to come a point where these boxes actually start getting pretty expensive, and at that stage, you're never going to find them cheap again. We are in a really good time at the moment where you can basically pick up these booster boxes pretty gosh darn cheap, which is clearly wonderful, excellent news, but just to be super clear, this isn't going to last forever. One of the things that made me want to go and make this video was when I noticed how cheap some of these Japanese booster boxes were. I thought it would be fun to kind of show you guys and to have a look to see if they were all this cheap. But let's be super clear, that the cheap is going to run out at some point, at which stage, yeah, then you're going to be paying over the odds. If you want Japanese boxes, now is a good time to go. So BT3 Union Impact, this was the last one that we didn't actually get properly because, well, like I've said, it was a little bit weird how we got BT 1 to 3 all basically jammed into Booster 1.0 and 1.5, and the reason was very simple. We wanted to catch up with Japan a little bit. Bandai clearly don't want to actually catch up with Japan. If they wanted to, they could, but I'm saying that they are at least making an impact to catch up a little bit. So Union Impact is actually ridiculously cheap. That's coming in at 2,968. That's less than 3,000 yen. That's a third off retail, and you're paying £18 or $24 for a box of these. Now, it is worth pointing out boxes are not quite the same as they are over here. Over here, you got 24 packs, and each pack is 6 cards, which is smaller than over here. But again, these booster boxes are coming in at the moment like crazy cheap. So if you want to be picking these up, could be fun. Now, BT4 is the first time that we really started to actually go along with Japan. This was the first time that our boxes actually coincided with Japan. The first time that we actually got the exact same thing, where our set was exactly in line with Japan's set. And this one, somehow, is even cheaper again. Now, this one, it's slightly more shipped to the UK because actually this one is being sold by a different person. A lot of the ones we're looking at are actually being sold by Amazon here. This is not being sold by Amazon. This is being sold by a third-party reseller. But for a box, you're paying 2,369 yen. 2,369 yen for a booster box of Digimon is absurd. Like I've told you, we're expecting to be paying somewhere in the region of, 4,752 yen. That's your RRP here. That's your MSRP. Picking up a booster box for 2,369, that's like half price. It is absolutely absurd. You are looking at paying about £14 or $19 for a Japanese booster box. And like I say, you can get these shipped. I'm looking at these, and generally speaking, getting them shipped, it's costing around about £10 or about $14. That's what most of these boxes are shipped. And I know that if you add multiple boxes, obviously you'll be paying more shipping. That has not escaped me. But still, that you're not paying an awful lot of money here to actually get these shipped over. And it's, it's getting a bit ridiculous. So BT4's nice and cheap. What about BT5? This is where it's starting to creep up just a little bit. You're paying 3,097 yen. Now look, obviously that is still not particularly expensive, but essentially what we're saying here is that the early boxes, maybe because they were printed in huge numbers, maybe because people are going after the newer stuff, whatever it might be, the older boxes are, coming in crazy cheap, and the newer boxes are creeping up a tiny bit. So BT5, your Battle of Omega, Battle of Omni is 3,097 yen. So putting that into currencies with which we are slightly more familiar, you're talking around about £19 or around about $25. So when I say creeping up, I think creeping is the word. We're still talking pretty gosh darn cheap. But this then trend does start going a little bit more. If we go and have a look at BT6, what we find is it's creeping up a little more again. Now, one thing I think is worth pointing out at this stage, remember, if you're following Digimon competitively, you may notice that the meta changes quite a bit with every new set. I.e., the new sets tend to, with exceptions obviously, they tend to be kind of pushing out the older sets. So when we get up to these newer sets, one explanation could well be, a lot of the cards from the first 4 sets are now kind of underpowered compared to a lot of the more recent sets. So BT6, you're paying 4,100 yen. Let's be clear, that's still not terribly expensive. You're talking £25 or $33. It's the most expensive we've seen so far, but I think trying to actually paint this as expensive might be a little bit of a challenge. BT7, good news is we're still talking a pretty reasonable price. It's actually a little bit cheaper. And again, a lot of this is going to come down to how playable the cards are seen as. And there's going to be an element here of how much was actually printed. Although, let's be clear, by the time we get to these sets, 7, 8, etc., Bandai have got a lot of good sales information to really make their decision as to how much to print, it is far more likely that the early sets will be overprinted, which could help to explain the lower price. So here you're talking 3,444 yen, which is coming in at about £21 or $27. Again, we are not talking much here. What is, however, kind of interesting is that as it stands at the moment, BT8 is off the board. What I mean by that is it's not readily available. Now, if I go and change to my Japanese proxy address, then all of a sudden it's back and it's actually being sold for 2,800 yen, which is pretty gosh darn cheap. But if you're looking to buy a box from outside of Japan, you are going to be struggling a little bit with BT8. Now, I imagine at some point it will come back. Remember, we're on BT9 at the moment, so BT8 is, quite new. But essentially, this isn't being sold by Amazon, it's being sold by somebody else, and that somebody else is not willing to be shipping it to the UK. And it really is as simple as that. It's off the board, it's temporarily sold out. Will it come back? Probably. All the other sets are in stock. But if, like me, you're sitting here going, oh, hang on a second, I could buy a box of all of these and then I could do an opening of all the boxes on my channel and that would be kind of awesome. As it stands at the moment, BT8 is just not there. It's not an option. BT9, however, is, remember, of the main sets, this is the current one. This is the most recent one as it stands at the moment. And this is being sold for 3,380 yen. Still very, very cheap. Bit more expensive than a bunch of the others we've seen. But, even in context here, right, we're talking £24. We're talking $31. This is still a very cheap booster box of cards. And, if I'm paying like 25 quid for a booster box, I mean, that's mighty tempting to go and buy, BT 1 to 4 now and then wait for payday and then buy BT 5 and 6. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. This is getting mighty tempting. Remember, BT 10 is not actually officially announced yet, so no luck there. Now, where it does get interesting is with the extra sets, the classic collections. Because remember, these are slightly different. They're not BT sets, they're EX sets. They are a little bit different. So EX01, and here it's worth pointing out, you get 12 packs per box, but you get 12 cards per pack. And here, you're paying 5,000 yen, 5,042 yen to be specific. And the good news is that we've still got pretty cheap postage, which is rather lovely. But it is worth pointing out that this one, and don't get me wrong, these are more expensive. They retail at $52.80 rather than $47.50. But not just as a raw number, but proportionally, these are actually more expensive. These are harder to get for a decent price. Here you're paying £31 or $40. You're still not talking hideous, but compared to the other sets, there is a little bit of a jump here. This is a fair bit more expensive. And then we finish off with EX2. This is a second special set. And this one, you're not picking it up below retail. As it stands at the moment, this is the one set where you're actually having to pay above. Again, you should be looking, this is an extra set, so you should be looking about $52.80. You're talking $6,800, and this is the first time I look at the box and I'm like, oh, that one might be a skip for me. You're talking £41 or $54. And like I say, the booster boxes in Japan are a bit smaller. They should be a bit cheaper. This one is, like I say, it's the first one where we're starting to look at it and go, oh, that's a bit much. Now, if I head on over and put my Japanese proxy address in, the good news is I now can pick it up for around about retail. And then I've got to pay to have it shipped over and all of that. So, not horrendous, but yeah, that is worth noting. So, in conclusion, they're all pretty gosh darn cheap. BT 1 to 4 really are quite crazy cheap. BT 8 is for some reason off the board. And the EX sets are, well, they're quite expensive, ladies and gentlemen. They are more expensive. Now I've made this video, honestly, all I really want to do is go and buy a box of every Japanese set. Because honestly, these are... I knew they were cheap, but now I've actually sat down and looked at it and seen the prices. It is mighty tempting, ladies and gentlemen. It is mighty tempting. But while I go and figure that out, might I suggest you guys go and tell me what you think about this in the comment section. Tell me if you're interested in Japanese cards. Tell me what you think of these prices. Tell me anything that interests you. Go nuts in the comment section, would you? But be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.